Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I want to talk about the rumor that Warzone 3 is coming, or maybe the rumor that Warzone 3 was coming but is already cancelled. The gameplay you're seeing all around you is from the original Verdansk and maybe a little bit of Verdansk 84 in there. So in case you haven't heard, the rumor is that we won't get Warzone 3 if the Verdansk reboot fails. And I read this and I thought, Warzone 3? I didn't even know that Warzone 3 was on the menu. I also don't even know if I want to play Warzone 3. What happens to my Warzone 2 cosmetics? Will there be another engine with another unique set of bugs? If Warzone 3 doesn't happen, what happens to Warzone 2? I am deeply confused by this rumor, but so far, rumors like this have been true for the last couple of years. Call of Duty has a lot of very prolific leakers. So today I am going to try to make sense of this rumor. And the basis of it all is that Call of Duty is not doing very well right now. I think we all know that. Multiplayer numbers are approaching an all-time low. Warzone isn't doing great either. Most people kind of assume that Warzone is the largest part of the player base, but since the numbers are all smushed together in COD HQ, we don't really know for sure. The thing I do know for sure is that Warzone is expensive to maintain. Servers that run a gigantic map and support over 100 players, plus all the streaks and objects and stuff, are expensive. And I also know that there's a tremendous amount of development time that goes into fixing bugs. I know you're going to make jokes about that in the comment. Adding new content. I know you're going to make jokes about the microtransactions and major map updates. I know you're going to make jokes about it being delayed. But even these things, if done improperly or slowly, are still very expensive. And the economics of Warzone only makes sense if the player count stays really high. So if Warzone 2 doesn't have enough players, Activision is going to lose money every month just by maintaining the product and keeping it live. And at a certain point, it goes over into the sunk cost fallacy, and it's just logical to axe the entire game mode, to just sort of cut your losses on Warzone and move on. So I assume that Activision's logic is that if the Verdansk reboot can't make Warzone 2 profitable again, then they won't outlay the initial investment for Warzone 3. But then here's the weird thing for me. I'm not sure that I'm looking forward to Warzone 3. Warzone 1 was incredibly fun, but it got less fun with successive updates. It was starting to kind of get less fun for me about the time that Caldera and Fortune's Keep came out, but I still prefer those late-stage Warzone 1 maps over Warzone 2. I didn't care for the movement in Warzone 2. That's both the sliding and stuff from Modern Warfare 2 and the Omni movement. Didn't like the new map that much, didn't like the bag system, didn't like the overabundance of zip lines. And I think Warzone 2 generally sped up the pace of the game a little bit too much for me, to where it felt a little bit like crazy TDM instead of tactical smart plays. And it was also incredibly buggy at launch, but we all know that got patched up over the last couple of years. It ended up being in a quite nice position until Treyarch imported the Omni movement, and then we got all the old bugs back. But in a short series of time, I think all the new old bugs, or the old new bugs, have been fixed by now. But late stage Warzone 2 is still following this trend, and even the back half of Warzone 2 feels worse than the front half, primarily because of the Omni movement. There's a lot of bugs, there's network inconsistencies, even popular streamers like Swag and Nadeshot are just straight up quitting and refusing to play the game because it's in such a bad state. And the pace of the game has shifted to just being team deathmatch for the first half of the map. A lot of ways to come back. And then you try to survive for the last few minutes and do crazy movement god, advanced sliding, rolling, pretending to be a body plays. I don't know, it's all very weird to me now. But given this trend of continually decreasing Battle Royale quality, why would I want to play Warzone 3? I know that releasing Warzone 3 is probably an attempt by the developers to do good things, like getting closer to a universal engine, or maybe just a better performing engine, more players, bigger maps or something, or a longer lasting carry forward system for the cosmetics. But I realistically think that it would just be another launch with its own unique set of problems that would then need to be sorted out over the span of about a year to maybe 18 months. And I don't really want to go through that process again. I don't want to be the guinea pig for that. But speaking of cosmetics, if Warzone 3 does release, what happens to my Warzone 2 cosmetics? You may remember that Warzone 1 was supposed to last forever, and then we lost everything when they shut it down and we migrated to Warzone 2. So I have to ask, will that happen again? Because not as much as last time, but this time I do have cosmetics on Warzone 2 that I really don't want to lose. And in my brain, it's mostly the Art the Clown skin, but it's still something that I paid for that I don't want to lose. And I think that if Warzone 3 doesn't allow for importing of Warzone 2 cosmetics, then I'm not going to play it. I'm not going to let people fool me a second or third time in a row. That's just silly. Overwatch 2 got this right. Almost everybody was able to import the vast majority of their cosmetics, so I don't see why we can't do that in Warzone 3. Perhaps a more important question is, what happens to Warzone 2 if there is no Warzone 3? Does that mean that Activision will just maintain Warzone 2 as is indefinitely? We get to keep the maps we've got, the guns we've got, the modes we've got, but not much new happens. Maybe just cosmetics and skins. Maybe it doesn't get a whole lot of new content, but it still stays up, free, available. It's a free-to-play Call of Duty experience. Maybe the servers get worse. I don't know. Will Warzone 2 have a sort of sunset window where it just turns off at a certain day and is no longer available? If that were to be the case, would the sunset window be 3 months, 6 months, another year? We don't really know. I mean, recently in the case of X-Defiant, the developers didn't even know. Ubisoft just told them, whoops, you're canceled. All that work you did on the next season is worthless. And something similar could happen here to Warzone. I don't know, maybe Warzone 2 just shuts down immediately as soon as the next Call of Duty game launches, but I gotta be honest, that seems unlikely. You're killing a part of your player base like that, even if the player base is mad at you. So if Verdansk fails, does that mean there is no Warzone 3? Or does that mean that all of Warzone is toast? As you can see, I'm kind of confused. There's a lot of uncertainty here. I don't know what the future of the franchise is, and despite the recent wave of negativity on this channel, I do want to reiterate that the original Warzone was a top 3 Call of Duty experience for me. It was incredibly fun. I think they got a lot of things right. I do still have a soft spot for Blackout. I think Blackout was a little bit better, but Warzone 1 with the original Verdansk was also really fun. It was really high up there. It had more longevity than Blackout, so I probably have more total good memories in the original Warzone than Blackout. That's to say, I loved the original, and I would love to see Call of Duty create a product of that quality at some point in the future. So I really do actually want Activision to succeed on this. I know the community sentiment is they want it to fail. It's actually kind of the sentiment with our government. They want it to fail so we can build something new. I rarely cheer for that. I want them to succeed. I want whatever version of Warzone is available to us to stay available and to just be awesome. I would love to go back to playing a really high quality Call of Duty Battle Royale. But I gotta tell you right now, the future is looking really uncertain for this sub-franchise. Or maybe I'm just worrying a little bit too much about something that is literally just a rumor. None of this has been announced by Activision. None of this is the gospel true. None of this has been locked in. It's just a rumor from a leaker, albeit a leaker who's often pretty accurate, who's on top of things. Enough to get attention from the entire community at least, but it is just a rumor. So I can't worry too much until it's confirmed. Guys, that's all for this short video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you enjoyed my opinion. I tried not to ramble too long because we can go over these topics pretty quickly. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.